You were so healthy. So, like, how does your brain even process that information when you literally ran 6 miles and then you're in the same day, like within the same 24 hours, you're getting this diagnosis? Like, what was going through your head?
Walked into a lung doctor from there who looked me in the eye and said I had lung cancer. And I've never been so surprised in my life.
So many people don't know about lung cancer and about like how prevalent it is for women.
Cancer, if you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. And we're not catching lung cancer until it's so spread that it's too late.
The system seems so broken in that way, right?
I still to this day sometimes have moments where I'm like, I have lung cancer.
How do we further the cause? Like, how do we, help to make change, but essentially?
One scan at a time, one woman at a time.
There's a version of this story that shouldn't exist. A healthy, active woman, a mother of 4, a non-smoker, someone who did everything right, and still she had lung cancer. Not because it couldn't be found earlier, but because by today's standards, she never should have been looking for it in the first place. That's the part that should stop you. Because what if the biggest risk isn't what we're doing wrong, but what we're not being told to check? Today's guest, Shira Boehler, wasn't supposed to be the patient. She was the outlier, the exception, the person the system wasn't designed to catch. And yet, one decision, one scan changed everything. This isn't just a story about cancer. It's about access, it's about assumptions, and it's about the uncomfortable reality that early detection isn't always about science. Sometimes it's about who gets the chance. If you've ever been told you're fine, if you've ever felt like something was off, or if you've assumed that doing everything right guarantees anything, this episode might change how you think about your health. This is the Iconic Midlife, unfiltered, unapologetic, and built for a midlife that doesn't ask for permission. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Iconic Midlife, Shira. How are you today?
I'm great, and I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. I had such a good time with you in Washington, D.C. when we were both at the National Conference on Women's Health.
I mean, talk about moments that are meant to be in Bashert, that I found you, we latched, and we became best friends, fast friends, and then shared the car back to the hotel, and then realized that I was moderating the panel right before you were moderating the panel, and we got to share our story and became fast best friends after that. It was like the perfect moment. It made me calm down before I got on stage, just knowing I had someone out there that I knew that would be looking out for me, to be honest.
We were laughing so much and you were so real. And that's what I really appreciated about you. Very authentic. Like,
I think the second your purse emptied out on the floor and we picked it up together, I was like, let's go. We get each other. I got it. We're going to figure it out together.
Totally. Oh my God. I totally remember it like flew everywhere. If your purse isn't falling out at a cocktail party, then like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Obviously not having enough fun.
Totally. Well, I so appreciated meeting you, and you were so open and honest with me about your story, which I thought was like, just the second you were telling me, it just, like I was so captivated because I think that so many people don't know about lung cancer and about like how prevalent it is for women and just all of these things. So let's talk about that because I know you're so open and honest with your story. So, you were telling me, you were kind of setting up the story for me, like, you're this healthy, like running 6 miles a day, like take care of yourself, all of these things. And you opted to do one of these sort of like full body MRIs, and you got some crazy news after that, like devastating. So just take me back to that time. Like, what was that exact moment when, you're hearing this news and it was like life before and then life after?
So to be honest, what was crazy about it was that I did the full body MRI actually over the summer. And I'm really claustrophobic. So remember, I don't like to do things like that. I fought my husband a lot. I canceled a lot of appointments, ultimately did do it, thinking I would get this great baseline because you were right. I ran 6 miles that morning, did the full body MRI. And actually my results came back that there was just a minor finding. and that I should correlate with symptoms and consider a follow-up, which to me, I had no symptoms. I was running. So I kind of dismissed it, rolled my eyes, told my husband that I was perfect on the inside and outside now, so he knew,
Totally.
and moved on. What's interesting about all this is you're right. I run, I try to eat out of the fridge, not the pantry. I have 4 little kids. My parents are both doctors. My brothers are both doctors. My grandfather, my aunt, my father is actually a lung doctor. So I showed him my findings on the MRI, and he kind of rolled his eyes a little bit and said that we look at lungs in a CT machine, not an MRI machine, because there's a lot of air. And he thought, if you want, you can follow up. My husband and I are in healthcare too. And so we kind of like do all the things, like we do all the blood tests like Gallery and Grail. We did 23andMe when it came out. We had our full genome sequence. We kind of have bought into it all and been very proactive and made sure that our health was in line the best we could. And so when my dad walked me through CT versus an MRI, I ultimately did follow up with that. And so I ran 6 miles. I went sweaty into the CT machine, which is like less than a minute, the easiest machine of all time. Don't even have to take off your clothes. And walked into a lung doctor from there who looked me in the eye and said I had lung cancer. And I've never been so surprised in my life. I mean, being the daughter of a lung doctor means that you've never puffed a single cigarette, like means that you avoid secondhand smoke. Like we were taught, my brothers and I, at all costs, get away from smoke. And I've done that. And I've run and I've tried to do all the right things. And so I was shocked. I just kept saying to the doctor, wrong person, wrong scan. You've got it incorrect. Like I don't smoke, I don't this, I don't that. And so basically that adventure, that like journey for the next week that I went on, which ultimately, confirmed my lung cancer. And then I had surgery to remove it. I realized that I was so lucky that I caught it so early before symptoms, super random scan, but that I wasn't unique. Like you said, Roxy, that people don't realize that lung cancer is killing more young, healthy women than breast cancer and ovarian cancer and colon cancer combined. And it's like crazy. So I was like this luckiest girl in the world with lung cancer, which is like not the cancer to get, but not a unique diagnosis. It wasn't like this rare disease that I was lucky to catch. It is the biggest cancer killer and no one talks about it. I think the whole idea behind it being a deserved disease and a lifestyle choice, like if you smoke, then maybe you deserve to have lung cancer. Like we have to change that narrative. Like if you smoke, you should stop smoking because your chances of getting lung cancer are greater than if you don't smoke. And if you smoke, you should get your lungs checked because you have that greater chance. But what I realize is that there's all these other factors that we don't know about. And that if you have a thyroid, you can get thyroid cancer. If you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. And we're not catching lung cancer until it's so spread that it's too late. And then it's the number 1 cancer killer. And it is affecting women disproportionately.
Absolutely. And, going back to that day, you mentioned running 6 miles, right? You did all the things. You were so healthy. So, like, how does your brain even process that information when you literally ran 6 miles and then you're in the same day, like within the same 24 hours, you're getting this diagnosis? Like, what was going through your head?
I love that you're asking me this because I think still to this day, I haven't processed it. So part of my journey and processing is I wrote a book. It's called One Scan Saved My Life. And I just want to educate people so they can get scanned and they can catch their cancer early if, God forbid, they have it. But to be honest, I was just having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine. Her husband's a oncologist, not my oncologist. She lives in a different state. And I was telling her that I was having this moment and I actually don't think it was me. Like literally, like how is that me? I mean, I know it's me. Like I have numbing and I have scars, but I sometimes feel like that wasn't me. And I can tell she's on speakerphone because she's like cooking, the kids are home. And I hear her husband, he has a thick Australian accent and he yells in the background, I saw it. You had lung cancer, confirming it's correct, and I was like, thanks. But I still have these moments where I just can't believe it. I mean, because I tried to do all the right things. And I sometimes think writing the book, talking a lot about it has helped me, but I don't know. I still to this day sometimes have moments where I'm like, I have lung cancer. I ran this morning. I did my 6-mile loop this morning and I felt fine doing it. And then I realized like, wow, when I get back in the minivan to drive out of the park that I do the loop, I'm like, wow, I had lung cancer 5 months ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you're back, doing all the things you did before with like running and being able to enjoy life, which is definitely what you want. Was there ever a moment that you had like anger, like where you like, God, like I've done everything right, I've done, all the healthy things, and then this happens. Like, were you mad at all? Was there anger there?
Yes. Um, just like moments of not believing that I have lung cancer, I have moments of anger. Like I'm not proud of them, but I remember just last month, I totally lost it and I was lying down on the floor in the hall, like screaming that it just wasn't fair that, I tried to eat out of the fridge, not the pantry. I try to run. I try to do the right things. Like my friends joke that I should have smoked with them because then maybe I wouldn't have lung cancer, or I should have smoked because it doesn't matter. I was going to get it. Like I really worked hard at that. I didn't go outside of the bar, when you're 22 and your friends have like a social cigarette. I didn't do those things. And there I was with lung cancer. And I definitely have angry moments. I think some of my anger, not proud, but is around the fact that lung cancer research and all the information we know is 15 to 20 years behind others. So because it was considered a lifestyle choice and maybe a deserved disease, it just doesn't get as much money or research or time spent on it, even though what we're realizing now is it's kind of a female health crisis in it all as well. And so I get a little bit angry. Like I say, there are other diseases out there that are deserved diseases or lifestyle choices that are getting all this funding. Why none for lung cancer? So for me, for example, I'm on nothing. They took out half my right lung, my middle lobe and the lower part of my upper lobe, and they sent me home. And now I'm just like on what they call is like an aggressive surveillance. So I have blood work and I have lung CTs done every few months, and they're just watching me to see if it comes back. And their thought is if it comes back, we can operate and take it out again. And if it doesn't come back, you have no evidence of disease now. There's no reason to give you, chemo drugs or radiation prophylactically because there is no disease in you. So you think, okay, that's okay. I can deal with that. Well, there's these other drugs like targeted therapies and immunotherapies that a lot of people have for their cancer treatments, which are awesome and amazing. And they don't cause a lot of the bad side effects that a chemo drug does. But for my kind of cancer, my biomarkers, there is no drug for me. It hasn't been found. So there isn't even that option. And so the doctors are like, look, if it comes back, we'll operate again. And then we might put you on a full dose of chemo to make sure we get rid of every cell. But they didn't feel it was necessary at this point. They kind of want to keep it in the arsenal. Their hope is as time goes, they find more drugs and the opportunity for me to take something becomes available because there really isn't an option for me right now.
Okay. Was there ever a sense of like betrayal of your body?
Yeah, it's interesting. My mom's a breast cancer survivor. So I always thought I would get breast cancer. So every 6 months when I have my mammogram or my MRI or the ultrasound, I literally put on the scrubs because you have to change, obviously. And I take a picture and I'm like, and I text it to my mom and I say, is today the day? Right. And I just always felt like that's okay. Like if I get breast cancer, there's great drugs. Like I'm going to beat it. Like my mom's been able to beat it. And then I get a new set. Right. So when it was my lungs, I was really angry and felt betrayed because I felt like, hey, I run, I exercise, I do all the things I'm supposed to do for you, and like rude, you turned your back on me. I feel like that's the whole like deserved disease. Like people want a reason why I have lung cancer. No one asks somebody who has breast cancer or ovarian cancer, what did you do wrong or how did you get it? They're just like, oh my God, that's terrible. But with lung cancer, people are like, well, do you smoke? Do you use too much hairspray? Do you not exercise? Do you not? And you're just like, no, wait, what? I do all the right things. So yeah, I get mad at my body sometimes for
Right.
sure.
Right. And it seems like, your path, like, thank God you got the second scan, right? Like,
Yeah.
does your mind ever go back and think, God, what if I hadn't gotten that second scan?
All the time.
Oh, wow.
I was never like that much of a spiritual person before. But this whole process has made me very spiritual. So when I first found out I had lung cancer, my aunt had just passed away from stomach cancer. And she and I were so close. I would FaceTime her every morning to pick out my outfits. Like we were just so close. She had 3 boys. And so I kind of was adopted as her daughter a little bit from the young age. I was born on her 30th birthday. We're just so close. And she passed away a month before my diagnosis. And at first I was like kind of angry with her too. Like, why aren't you here? Like you left me during my battle and like I was there during yours. And then I kind of started, I would like look up at the sky and yell a little bit at her, like, what the hell? Come back. I need you right now. And then like this spiritual side of me was like, wait a minute, maybe she's the one who told me to get that scan. Like what nudged me to do it? You're right. Why did I do it? I don't have an answer. No doctor, no friend, no husband, nothing. No one said you should go follow up with the CT. It was like, I was actually at my endocrinologist's office showing him how cool the full body scan app was. Oh, look at all the features. And I was doing that. And I said, oh, actually, it showed I had nodules on my thyroid, which makes sense because I have Hashimoto's. And he was like, yeah, we know about those. So I was showing him like literally how you could zoom in and out on my thyroid nodule. And then I said, oh, and it also found something on my lungs. And he said, oh, do you want to follow up? It says only if you have symptoms. And I said, I know, I don't have symptoms. And then I was like leaving his office and I turned to him and I said, actually, just sign me up for a low dose CT. I've never had one. Maybe it'll be interesting. But like, why did I do that? And I sometimes think that maybe it was this spiritual thing where someone from up above was like, girl, you have lung cancer. Like, go check.
Yeah, I mean, you have to almost chalk it up to something like that. Cause like, why would you have, like, and thank God you did. And, I think another interesting point when we were talking at the conference, you were saying that like screening is not popular amongst, especially women to go get lung cancer screenings and oftentimes not even covered by insurance. The system seems so broken in that
It
way,
does.
right?
I mean, I feel like in the mammogram world, right? You have like guilt if you don't go. Sometimes like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm at 13 months, not at 12. Like, oh my God, I got to go. Like there's a lot of guilt around that. And I think that that's from decades of, Nancy Brinker through Susan G. Komen and things like that, pushing people to understand, change the narrative, to explain to people breast cancer is not your fault. Like just check for it and we can catch it early enough now. And we can, cure so many people. Like it's so wonderful how much science has helped breast cancer patients. And I think that the current guidelines for lung cancer screening need to be changed. And there's a few reasons. So currently, in order to get Medicare or Medicaid or your insurance to cover your lung cancer screening, you have to be over the age of 50 and smoke a pack a day for 15 years. So there's a few issues with that. One, that doesn't account for people that have parents who are lung cancer survivors or passed away from lung cancer. So there's no family history brought up in that like we do with breast cancer. That doesn't account for veterans who are in burn pits or people that work in industries in like, I don't know, maybe like nail salons or maybe like in an engineering plant or, things like that. Doesn't account for that. And it doesn't account for just young, healthy women, which are on the rise. And so in addition to that, in my peer group, there are not many people that are smoking a pack a day. That isn't a thing. People vape or they do this or they do that. It's almost like it's antiquated. It's not a thing anymore. There's not like smoke a pack a day people as much. And so I think that's one of the things I talk about in my book and things that I'm talking about with the government is we need Medicare and Medicaid and the guidelines to change so that it trickles down into the insurance companies and that the rest of us can get it. The reality with the lung low dose chest CT today is it's less than $200, which is not that expensive, but it is not affordable for everyone, right? So I started a foundation called Cancer Doesn't Care, and that's my whole mission is to pay for people's lung screenings until we can get insurance to cover it. I think that we need to work with the United States Preventative Task Force to adjust the guidelines to account for things like vaping versus smoking and family history and things like that. They found actually in 2025, they did a study that over 2/3 of patients diagnosed with lung cancer did not meet lung cancer screening guidelines. So that's like a pretty
Wow.
big number.
That's
And it's
big. Yeah.
also crazy number because that means all of those patients found it incidentally. So maybe my friend's mom fell down the stairs and she cracked a rib. So she went to the emergency room and they found lung cancer.
Oh, wow. So for things that don't even necessarily have to do with the lung at all.
Right. That's how they're catching it. Because
Gosh.
by the time you really have symptoms from lung cancer, it's too late. It's spread. So a lot of people find lung cancer like their hip hurts and it's in their bones, or they have a seizure and it's in their brain. So you don't like feel your lungs. Your lungs kind of compensate and just take in more air in the healthy parts in order to keep you going. So you don't like know sometimes that there is an infection and that it's growing if it's small enough to start.
Okay. So for a woman like listening at home that maybe she has symptoms, maybe she doesn't, maybe she just wants to, be preventative about this. What is she saying to her doctor? Like what are the tests she should be requesting or the blood work or what should she be saying to the doctor?
That is the $1,000,000 question. And the problem right now is when you ask your doctor about it, they'll probably give pushback because you don't meet guidelines. So, what I recommend is talking to your doctor and asking for a low dose CT scan. And it is the same scan that they actually do for your heart when you look at calcium scores, but it just widens the view and looks at your lungs also. So, you can do both at once if you want. It's less than a minute. It should be less than a couple $100. But your insurance isn't going to cover it. I've actually found it's better to tell them you have no insurance when you show up than to have them bill your insurance, it get denied, and then you pay more for whatever backwards reason. So I would ask your doctor for a low dose CT. A lot of doctors that my peers have come across because they've reached out to me after they've asked have given major pushback and said no. So I tell them to blame me, blame Shira, say you have a friend, I can be everyone's friend that this happened to, and you want to pay for a low dose CT. You want a good baseline. You want to just make sure everything looks good. They're your lungs have nodules all over them, just like your skin has freckles. So it is not bad to have nodules. What's bad is like these ground glass nodules, or if they're really big and then they grow a lot. A lot of us have scarring from past pneumonias or infections. It's not a problem. But sometimes if you get this baseline scan today, and then maybe you follow up in a year or a couple years, if any of those have grown, you can tell and you'll have an answer more quickly. But the low dose chest CT today is our only option. A lot of research, hopefully, dollars will go into the lung cancer side too, but to find a blood test that'll catch it. So I had done that Gallery Grail blood test, catches some cancers. Mine was negative. It was done a couple weeks before my
Oh,
CT. So I definitely had cancer,
okay.
but it didn't catch it. So it's not great for lung cancer yet.
Okay.
But there's a lot of companies out there that are trying to figure it out because a blood test would be amazing to be able to catch some of that circulating tumor DNA. But right now, the only thing we have is a low dose chest CT.
Okay, so in other words, like the full body MRI is not necessarily going to catch it, right?
Yeah, I mean, an MRI
Okay.
is not great for your lungs. The full body MRI I found really interesting. I
Okay.
think you hear mixed reviews. Some people say they go down rabbit holes they didn't need to go down. The full body MRI is not as affordable. It's like $2,500, but I find it interesting if you can mentally prepare that it's going to find stuff that maybe isn't something you need to really check. But if you're just interested in getting your lungs checked, like you get your mammogram and your pap smear, then or your colonoscopy, you can just do a low dose chest CT.
And how often is it recommended? Is it like kind of a once a year thing, like a mammogram, or more frequently or less?
Right. That's fair. They haven't done that much research on it. There are a few AI companies out there that'll read your scan and they have this like AI wrapper around it that can better predict if you need to come back in a year or 6 years. They have not been FDA approved. They're not really readily available. I'm working with some of them to help push them over the line. But I would go and then if you have nothing really and everything looks okay, go in 5 years. It could be more like a colonoscopy,
Hmm. Okay.
but they don't have the data yet, so I can't really tell
Yeah.
you 100%.
Which is so crazy because I feel like, I mean, I had a great uncle that passed from like lung cancer. Like lung cancer is not a new disease, it's been
Right.
around. So why do you think it's just taken so long to kind of bring it into the consciousness of people?
I mean, I think a lot is because it was considered a lifestyle choice. I mean, I had a call with a CEO of a major national insurance company. And he said, why should I scan people for lung cancer? It's a lifestyle choice. And I was like, whoa, we've got to change the narrative. It's not. It's not a lifestyle choice. The other side of it is, as we know, as 40-something-year-old women, we're kind of on the back burner. And it is a female health crisis. So men can also get lung cancer, obviously. But they've done recent studies. They did a study in Taiwan. They repeated it in New York. And it found that the Taiwanese, Asian, never smoking women were getting lung cancer at a 2-fold increase than their Asian male counterparts that smoked.
Why is that?
They have no idea. At first, they did it in Taiwan and they thought it was cooking oils, which is why they repeated it in New York where no one cooks. And they found the same. And so it's a female health crisis. Like, no one's talking about it. It's just starting to, as I talk about it today, you'll start noticing it a little bit more. You'll see an article or this or that. It's just at this inflection point where people I think are starting to pay attention and realize that it's not good to smoke. You can get lung cancer, but it is not an only smoker's disease, right? There are people out there. The other thing I found reading studies was they did some work on breast cancer survivors. And I feel like I have so many peers that are breast cancer survivors right now, and I've spoken to a lot of them about this. The study found that breast cancer survivors had a 2-fold increase of getting lung cancer as a primary cancer. So it was not a metastasis of the breast cancer. It had nothing, they held constant for radiation and chemo, but they found that a breast cancer survivor should be getting a lung screen because their chance of getting lung cancer was 2 times the average person. So again, they're not covered in the lung screen for guidelines or for insurance. So if you're a breast cancer survivor, you should talk to your doctor. Find the study. You can read about it in my book and tell your doctor, I want a lung scan. I'll pay out of pocket because they're finding that breast cancer survivors have a 2 times increase. And that is not fair. You do not need to be the person who survives breast cancer to then get lung cancer. It's not fair.
Right.
Like, you should, one is enough. We don't need 2.
Right. Well, and when you're getting these low dose CT scans, does that also, because it's, the lungs, like, does that also include breast tissue that you could see on that scan?
I know. You know what's crazy, Roxy? None of these things really overlap. So
Okay.
even like when I did my full body MRI over the summer, I thought, oh, will that count because I do a breast MRI? And they were like, no, the breast MRI is like more focused on the breast. The full body MRI is like high level of everything. Then I had to go get brain MRI once I was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I said, oh, I have my brain MRI from like 3 months ago. And they were like, no, redo the brain MRI because it's like more focused. And so I think in a similar way, like a mammogram machine versus a low dose chest CT, even though it is in the same area, it's just like the way they do the pictures, it doesn't show the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't translate for like every body part.
And I know, I wish, because a low dose chest CT is so chill, less than a minute. You don't get undressed. You lay on your back, your hands over your head. You go in, out, and that's it. And it's like a small donut machine.
Oh.
And like a mammogram, I just had one again. That is not chill. It's like
No.
painful. They're like, don't breathe, suck in, round your back, hold here, don't move. And you're like naked and the machine's cold. You're like the lady's hands. It's not fair. You're like, what is this? Why can't we just lay in the thing? I like go take a nap in the machine, but no.
So it's that quick. It's like a 2-minute process.
Yeah, it's actually, I think you're laying down less than a minute.
Oh my God.
It's crazy how fast and easy. And like a colonoscopy is 2 days, right? You like spend a day at home on the toilet.
Right.
And then the next day you go in and they put you under and then you miss work for 2 days easy.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whereas like a low dose chest CTs, it's a minute. You can go at a coffee break if you live close enough to an imaging service.
Right. So how do we, for those people listening, like, how do we further the cause? Like, how do we, help to make change, essentially?
I mean, I think we have to think about changing the narrative. We have to talk to our doctors and ask for the scans. We have to tell our girlfriends, like, take your mom to go get a scan, take a girlfriend to get a scan. I've been doing that, taking my friends, meeting them at the imaging place and saying, okay. And they go in for a minute, come out and they're like, that's it. I'm like, yep, bye. We make it like a thing. Go get a coffee and get a scan and ask your doctors and educate your friends and read my book called One Scan Saved My Life. And, talk to people in the medical community and in the, government community, so that they understand that we're paying attention. We're changing the narrative. We're out there advocating for ourselves to say, we got to fix this. I just think it's like one scan at a time, one woman at a time, just, like mammograms have become very constant in our lives, but it wasn't like that before. It's taken a lot of work.
What do you think is the biggest roadblock right now? What is the biggest, the thing that's like stopping the progress?
I've had some interesting conversations recently. That's fair to ask. I think that one, we need to change the guidelines. And so if we get the guidelines changed at the Health and Human Services level, which I'm working on, that will cover the insurance, that will force Medicare and Medicaid and insurance to likely cover it. So I think that's a big roadblock. I think doctors are a big roadblock because that's not what they were taught. And they're looking for a smoker. They're looking for the black coal lung. They're looking for that in a lung cancer patient, when it could be a young, healthy runner with 4 kids who's, super active. So I think it's like all that narrative changing in addition to getting the guidelines changed. In order to get the guidelines changed, though, I think we need like a groundswell of like young, smart, healthy women to start, yelling from the rooftops, like, this is a female health crisis. We've got to get our lungs checked. This isn't fair. If you're a breast cancer survivor, you need your lung checked. If you're a family history of lung cancer, you need it checked. There's all these reasons, and we're just saying it's a lifestyle disease and brushing it under the rug.
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of parallels like what we were talking about at the conference with the menopause care too. It's like you really have to push to get anything done when feels like when you're a woman, it's like our health is just not in the past has not been seen as valuable as much as, men's. It's like we're constantly having to fight to get the change to happen.
I mean, I think when you look back to like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, they talk about how when women had breast cancer, sometimes their husbands would divorce them, kick them out of the house. They thought it was like contagious or they did something wrong. That's not the case, but it took decades of pushing and re-educating, right? And now we're doing it with the menopause. So all of the hormone replacement therapy, I feel like this administration has recently come out and been like, what are we doing? Let women have HRT. Like, let's support them and give them what they need and they deserve to like be stronger, healthier women. And so that's been happening, and I think helping, and that is still going on. And now we need to like add lungs too and be like, this is a female health crisis. Why aren't we taking care of ourselves and our moms and the women in our lives to make sure that they're healthy and strong?
Are there any women that should specifically sort of be on the lookout for, possible disease?
Yeah, there isn't that much research, but if from my research, I would say if you have a family history, you should definitely look. If the guidelines state if you were a smoker, you can be tested, but not if you're a secondhand smoke. So if your parents were big smokers, you should probably be looked at. If you quit smoking, it's great because every year you've not smoked, your chances go down and down and down, but you should still be checked because you are at higher risk than if you've never smoked. I think if you are a breast cancer survivor, you should be looked at. And then I think you should think about your workplace, where you work, how, that environment is, because I think that there are a lot of factories or plants where people work that maybe have toxins in the air. The other thing that they've realized recently is though smoking is the number one issue, the second issue is radon. And they're finding that a lot of homes have radon issues. So like a smoke detector, you can buy this little machine to detect radar in your home. It's very reasonably priced. And you just put it in your house and it'll tell you where your radon is in your house. If your radon's high, all they do is they put like an extra pipe underneath your house. It's not that expensive and it pushes the radon out and you're fine again. So there are certain neighborhoods and cities and states that have higher radon than others and certain homes. And that's just with the radon detector to figure out if you're at a higher risk or not. Again, if you find you've been living in a house for 25 years and it has really bad radon, you should get your lungs checked. But again, it's not going to be covered by your insurance because it's not in the guidelines, even though research has continued to show that radon is the number 2 reason people are getting lung cancer.
Wow. And what about like just being outside, like pollution in the air? I mean, is that, you and I both live in big cities. So it's like, who knows what we're
Yeah.
breathing most of the time, I
I,
mean,
I
is that,
mean, sometimes,
yeah.
yeah, you don't know. And
Hmm.
sometimes you think like, I think maybe it's because I'm a runner. I mean, that seems crazy, but I have these
Oh,
moments where I
right.
attack myself. It's my fault, even though it's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong that I intentionally or anything like that.
Right.
Just like if you get breast cancer, it's not your fault that you have breast cancer. Or if you're going through menopause, it's not your fault you're going through menopause. You should just do the best thing you can to take care of yourself. So it's not my fault. But I do think about that. Sometimes I think, oh, it's because I run and I'm like breathing the air. But I grew up in Santa Barbara, so like on the beaches. So that's like salty air. Is salty air bad? I live in Nashville now. I don't even know if this air is that bad here, right? But it is. I lived in. People have talked to me a lot about radon, and I moved my eldest to 7 different states before they turned 10. So in that 10-year period, we lived in 7 states. So even if I had a high radon house or a bad pollution neighborhood, I don't know if that would be enough to affect me personally because I never was anywhere very long. But now I've been in Nashville over 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I hopefully am in a safe area.
Yeah.
So what about general cancer family history? Like not even necessarily lung cancer, but let's say, there's like a family history of breast cancer or stomach cancer, like you're saying. Like, how does that all play into lung cancer percentages?
Yeah, they don't have that much research on it still. I did my full genome sequencing about 5 years ago, and I paid extra for an extra cancer panel on my genes, because my mom was a breast cancer survivor, and I turned out I didn't have any of the genes that they know of for breast cancer. I had a slightly elevated colon cancer gene that no one in my family's ever had colon cancer. So I started getting colonoscopies, but it really showed nothing. And I think that I probably do have some cancer gene in my system, but they don't know what it is yet. They haven't found it. Actually, interesting, when I found out I had lung cancer, I had done my genome sequencing at Harvard. So I called and I said, "Hi, this is Shira. I wanted to call and let you know I have lung cancer." And the geneticist was like, "What?" I was like, "Well, I you didn't tell me I had any elevated risk for any of the cancers, including lung cancer. So I want you to know because maybe there's a gene you'll discover one day based on my data that is a lung cancer gene, or cancer in general elevates a little bit." But yeah, my aunt that I talked about who has stomach cancer, she's actually not a blood relative.
Oh,
She's my
she's not.
dad's brother's wife,
Oh,
but
okay.
I feel like she's my blood relative. But that was interesting because when I looked at my family history, like there's heart disease and things like that. My mom had breast cancer, but her mom is still alive. She turns 100 on May 5th, and she doesn't have breast cancer. And my mom's sister is still alive and never had breast cancer. So, we don't know. It's not a gene like BRCA1 or BRCA2 that they were able to pinpoint for our family. But my mom's really the only one. My dad's family, his parents both passed away at 97. We have heart disease, but we don't have a lot of cancer until me.
I think that is a really good point though for people listening to realize is that it doesn't always mean there's some sort of family history or what have you. And that kind of goes along with, a lot of cancers is that you don't necessarily have to have a family history to have cancer, and I think that's also important for people to be aware of, it's there's no way to tell really, a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
I mean, that's the reason my foundation is called Cancer Doesn't Care. And then my website is cancerdoesn'tcare.com because cancer doesn't care. It doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are or what your family like sometimes it just doesn't care and it's like out to get you. And like, what? So sometimes when I get really upset, like you were saying before, and feel like my body betrayed me and I have like anger issues about what I'm going through, I realize like I probably didn't do anything wrong. It's just like cancer doesn't care. It doesn't care. I'm just lucky that I got that scan, that I paid out of pocket, that I had this like moment of like, yeah, I'll just go get it and see how it goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank goodness you did. You're a mom of four. So was there ever a moment when were kind of going through the thick of it that, the fear sort of crept in and you kind of like took off like the patient hat and you had the mom hat on, like was there ever that kind of a moment?
I mean, that moment still goes on. So I have a few anecdotes for you. So when my husband and I were sitting in the doctor and they told me that I had lung cancer, I told him that we needed to like pick up the kids from school. he was going to pick them up. I was going to meet him at home, and we were going to tell the kids that I had a medical procedure the next day because I was going to be put under general anesthesia to have a biopsy done, but that we weren't going to use the C word. That was my plan. So I went home, he drove, picked up the kids, drove home, and the kids walked in the door and I said, "Hey, I want to talk to you guys." And the kids looked at us, and one of my kids said, "Are you guys getting divorced?" And the other one said, "Or does mom have cancer?" And my husband and I froze, and we were like, "Why would you say that?" And they were like, "Dad's never picked us up from school before."
Wow.
Fair.
That intuition. Wow.
So that opened it, right? So
Okay.
then the C word was on the table. And so we explained to them that I'd had a scan that morning after my run and that they thought maybe it was cancer, but maybe it wasn't. And I was having a bronchoscopy the next day to have a biopsy done of the tumor. And so my son said, "Well, what are the chances that it is cancer?" And I think he was hoping I'd say 1 or 2%. And we said, the doctor told us it was a 90% chance it was cancer. And then my kids all laughed.
They
And I
laughed.
think they thought it was going to be 1 or 2. And it was like this moment where we're all on the couch telling them that their mom has cancer, and they giggled. And I was like, but I think it kind of
Interesting.
broke the ice. And you're like, okay. And then, it was a tough couple weeks with surgery and recovery and all of this. And now I wrote my book. I'm on book tours. I go on the news. I'm trying to, teach people and raise awareness about lung cancer. And my son came home the other day and said he overheard a friend of his speaking to the friend's father about how his mom has cancer. So I said to my son, "Well, why don't you talk to him? Why don't you say, you're here if he wants to talk to anyone that you understand because your mom has cancer?" And he said, "Mom, that is so embarrassing. You do not have real cancer." I was like, "Oh, I don't?" And my husband kind of looked and he was like, "No, you look fine. You do not have real cancer." And kind of walked away. Like, I'm
Like
the most
fake
embarrassed.
cancer.
Yeah. And what I think I realized, like talking to my kids a little bit more and understanding why they think I have fake cancer, is that today we think of a cancer patient as like bald, sick, and nauseous and not getting out of bed and not doing anything. And so again, like I'm really lucky I caught it early enough that I'm not currently sick and bald and not getting out of bed. I'm fine and healthy and running and driving them to and from school every day in the minivan and going to all the sports games and acting like I'm fine. And so I think that just goes to show again, like how these drugs and all this like make people think cancer patients are like sick and dying when some of us are thriving and we're doing okay. And I think that was another thing I talked to some of the people in government about is like the cold capping that a lot of my friends have successfully worn during their breast cancer treatments. And then it keeps their hair. And even though, hair is like this vanity thing and doesn't really matter, I think as a woman in their 40s and 50s, like it's so much of our identity and our children's identity of us that I think my children were spared a lot of that because they didn't see me as like a sick cancer patient victim. They saw me still as like the strong mom who can do anything and everything for them.
Absolutely. How do you look at life now after this, like on the other side of it? Like, does it change your perspective?
Yes, it's funny because I'm on this book, journey right now. And so I feel like I've been traveling and gone a lot more from the kids, which is hard for me. So my guilt is up on that. But I feel like you only live once, like fear of missing out. I want to say yes to everything. I run around. When I go for my runs, I feel like really good and like proud when I'm running. I try to exercise, I still exercise every day. I feel really good. I feel like I'm out there. I saved my life and I just want to save other people's lives. It's given me a new lease on life. I have like this new passion and drive and focus that I never had before. And I want my kids to see me doing it and be proud of me for working hard on it also. And, I was in a dark place when they first told me. I mean, I remember some funny stories. Like I turned to my husband and I said, "I want you to remarry when I die, but you can't have more kids." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "If you have another kid, then the new wife will not pay attention to our 4 kids. So you can get married, but you can't have more kids. And he was like, you're crazy. You're not going anywhere. Right. You like get in
Totally.
all these things, right? Like
Uh,
it makes me want to like be with the kids all the time and travel and see my friends and just say yes to everything, which also makes me have guilt because I'm like running around like a lunatic. So hopefully it'll calm me down a little bit. But I do. I mean, I've always kind of had like a big high energy level in life, but now I feel like it's even more so. And I just try to smile all the time and tell people how great they are and tell people how much I appreciate them and tell them how beautiful they are because sometimes you don't realize it, but you take it for granted.
mhm. Absolutely. What kind of change would you like to see happen in the next 5 years when it comes to lung cancer?
I would love the guidelines to be changed. And with the guidelines, I would love it to trickle down for Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance so people can get their lungs scanned and it can be caught early and they can be a lung cancer survivor like me. That would warm my heart because right now, Roxy, to be honest, it's hard for me to find lung cancer survivor peers.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it
There
just
aren't many of us. I'm
yeah.
joining the breast cancer survivor crew. I'm always like, we're cancer survivors. I'm in your crew. I'm in your crew. I think because by the time lung cancer is found, it's too late. And so it's really hard to find other young, healthy women that are beating it because it's caught too late.
Gosh, is it, more aggressive, like, the younger you find it, or is there no, like, real
No,
correlation with that? Okay.
yeah, that's not.
Okay.
If you find it before it spread to your lymph nodes, you're in better shape than if you find it after, right? Which is a lot of cancers. But this one specifically, and because we don't have that many drugs for it yet.
Okay, so that's gotta be part of the changes, like, the drugs and the
Yeah,
research and yeah. I mean
changing the narrative.
right, changing the narrative. I mean, is there active, research being done right now in the way that you
Yes.
would like to see? Okay.
There is, and there's a lot of new foundations that are popping up looking to do even more. So my forward was written by Anne Wojcicki in my book. Anne's sister, Susan, passed away of lung cancer in August of 2024. Susan was the CEO of YouTube. She was the mother of five. She was very active and ate out of the fridge and did all the right things. And her hip hurt, like I'd said earlier, when she was on a run, and she kind of ignored it for a little bit and then ultimately went in and it was lung cancer that had spread all over her body.
Oh my god.
And watching that family, because I've known them since my early 20s, just spiral as any family would, was so hard. You know, her five kids, her widowed husband, her two sisters, her mom and dad, all of YouTube, right? Where would YouTube be if we still had Susan at the helm? And so the Wojcicki other sisters are starting a foundation in her honor. They're really focused on like blood tests for lung cancer and more drugs because that wasn't available to their sister who, passed from lung cancer. And so, yes, I think in 5 years we'll be in a much better place. And I think a lot of that is because narrative is changing, but I think we need to change it more. I think we need to fix the guidelines. And I hope a lot of money gets in there so that we get the blood tests and all that.
Absolutely. Turning the tables a little bit. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self? And what were you like at 25? I wanna know
25,
what
let's
the
see.
Shira was like.
I mean, I was probably still crazy. I probably went out more, danced a lot on tables, and had a really good time
Yes.
all the time. But now with kids and all the things, um, I have my moments of that still, but I keep them, under wraps. Just a few times a year, they pop out. I would probably tell my 25-year-old self to enjoy every moment and to get the scans and pay attention and not fight my husband on getting that one, I guess, and to continue to do the right things because I also believe, and maybe it's the higher spirit, but my lung cancer, interestingly enough, had like they said, like a thin layer of cancerous cells that were less invasive than the main tumor itself that circled them. And I've spoken to oncologists and they sometimes say that they find that in healthy, active individuals. So it was almost like maybe my body was fighting the tumor. And so it made these cancer cells that surrounded my tumor. They were still cancer cells, but they were less aggressive, invasive cancer cells than the mass of the tumor. So the mass of the tumor was growing and it would have broken through that protective barrier. But I think my body or somebody somewhere, pushed to have it kind of protect it. And so I think it's important to still take care of yourself. So even though I eat right, and I exercise, I think that did help. I think it did protect me a little bit from it spreading to my lymph nodes sooner. And I think I've probably had the cancer for a few years when I finally found it. And I think I'm really lucky because if I had not gotten the scan and waited a few more months, it would have spread around my body and it would have been too late.
Wow, so you think you had it for some years? Like it was just kind of laying dormant and then growing and growing and growing?
Yeah, it was growing, but it was like, because of that layer around, it was growing, but it was kind of growing from the inside out versus like this way. And that layer was getting thinner and thinner, I think, and it was about to break through it, which would have made too late in a few months.
My God, thank goodness you went in. That's crazy. So, what lesson have you learned in midlife? What is like the most important lesson?
I mean, to be honest, that the minutes are long and the days and years are short. I sometimes find myself like trying to get to bedtime, but the reality is like then the week goes by and I'm like, wait a minute, did I do this? Did I do that? I'm trying to see that my oldest are freshmen in high school, and I know that soon they'll be driving and definitely leaving me. And so with this whole process, I've realized I just want to hold on to them and I'm trying to focus on them more. And I'm embracing it. I'm okay in my 40s. I feel good. I think there's so much pressure when you're younger, and I've like come into my own and I have my own career and I have my family and my babies that I love on all the time, and I feel good about it. And I've learned a lot to stand up for myself and say, this is what I need right now. And a lot of that I didn't do before I had cancer. And I think cancer has helped me with that to be honest with myself and with my family and friends around me.
Mhm. Absolutely. And how are you living iconically right now?
I mean, look at me, all
I
the things.
mean, of
I
course.
I know. I have never had a social media. I've never been on television. I've never done podcasts. I've just, hunkered behind and along the road. I think I've always introduced myself as Adam's wife. I always say I play wife really well, or I'm Ruth's mom, or I'm, Rachel's mom. And I just always am behind the throne. I'm always, the wife or the mom or the friend or this. And I am living iconically because now I have a big social media I started. It's called Shira Boehler, my name. I'm trying to raise awareness about lung cancer. I've been on Fox and CNN. I'm going to be on the Today Show. I'm just doing all these things now that I never thought I would do. And I'm putting myself out there. And it's something that changed when I hit 44. And I kind of love it.
Mhm. Yeah, there's something really nice about like feeling good about where you are and not really giving
Yeah.
so many fucks about like what everyone else thinks and being able to put yourself out there, you
Yeah.
know? Why not?
I mean, and I think I I guess I have diarrhea of the mouth, right? I just share my story. I keep telling everyone because I want people to get help. So many people have come to me and they're like, I just wouldn't have told anyone. I can't believe you're doing that. I can't believe you're telling the world about all the stuff you went through. But that's something that changed for me because I was like, if I don't, who will? And who's going to stand up and say, lung cancer is a thing? It's a female health crisis. It's happening to women in their 40s and 50s, just like menopause, just like breast cancer. We need to talk about it. We need to like get the word out. And so I never thought I'd be an author. I never thought I'd be on a podcast. I never thought I'd go on television, and like doing it all. And I started it all at 44 and like here I am,
Yeah. See,
Cool.
it's never too late. It's never too late,
Never too
right?
late.
So what do you say to a woman at home that feels stuck? That she doesn't really know what to do in midlife especially, like what advice would you give her?
It's funny. Last January of 2025, I was sitting around a room with a group of women, and everyone had to go around and say like what they wanted in 2025. And one of the women there reminded me of this about 6 months ago. I said, I don't know. I want to like find my thing. Like I feel like I'm my husband's wife. I'm the mother of my 4 children. I have my MBA. I worked really hard as a student, but I'm just kind of like, I don't really know. Like, what's mine? Who am I except a wife and a mother and all those things? And I said that. And I said, I'd love to like find my passion or drive or something that excites me to get up every morning. And I didn't think it would be lung cancer, but I mean, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I have no evidence of disease. I'm a lung cancer survivor, and like I'm going to help change the guidelines and save lives and move the needle. And I just never thought that would be me. And so when I look back at me when I was a little bit stuck, I would say, stand up and like do something, like just, I don't know, whatever it is. If you want to get super active in the kids' school, or more active in your husband's job, or more active in your own job, or start your own career. Or I think that this like whole thing in your 40s, I see so many friends restarting. And I used to think like, I love connecting people and talking to people. Maybe I should be a recruiter. And I started working a little bit with my husband's company and the recruiting team to see if I could help and introduce them to people and things like that. And like put on clothes and went to the office every single day, and just figure out what, made me tick. But I think our 40s and 50s are like, it's it for us. I think
Yeah.
it's like the go time.
It
It is.
is, right?
We don't have to be pregnant. We don't have to be like nursing anymore. We're just like crushing it at this stage.
Yeah, it's like our time. It's like, this is it. Like, this is it, I totally agree. I think it's never too late. And I think anybody can start anything at any time, Why not? Knowledge is power. And what is next for you, my friend?
I'm getting on a plane.
Ooh.
I am heading to Texas for a couple of days. I have a book party in Dallas and Austin and some meetings and a conference. And I'm going to go talk about my book and spread the word to get people's lungs checked and take care of their bodies.
Amazing. And where can everybody find you if they want to reach out to you as well?
Yeah, I have my social media. My name is Shira Boehler, ShiraBoehler on Instagram. I just joined LinkedIn. I'm doing all the things, Roxy. I have a website. It's called cancerdoesn'tcare.com, and you can find my book there. You can find my book on Amazon. It comes out later in April. And you can write me on any of those places too. And I'm answering and really active on it all because I want people to get their lungs checked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is what's happening. You're making it happen. You are making it happen. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody, please check out all of Shira's amazing work that she's doing. And go get your scans. Right? Absolutely. Be sure to come back on Thursday for Shira's game episode because we're going to be diving into all the things. You're not going to want to miss it. It's amazing. And be sure you like, subscribe, and rate wherever you get podcasts so we can bring you more amazing conversations like this. Shira, you're a rock star. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Loved.
What makes this conversation so powerful is not just what happened to Shira. It's what almost didn't happen. Because her story only exists the way it does because she had access, she had information, and she pushed when most people are told not to. And that's the question this leaves us with. How many women are doing everything right and still being missed? If this episode made you think differently about your health, your instincts, or the questions you're asking, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. Text it to a friend. Send it to your sister, your mom, or your group chat. Because this is the kind of conversation that can actually change outcomes. And if you haven't already, follow the show so you don't miss what's coming next. We're having these conversations every week with bold, smart, interesting guests. Some you know, and some you'll be very glad you met here first. Whether you're questioning the system, trusting your gut, or just trying to figure it all out, you're not crazy, you're evolving. And that's iconic.